probably everyone, I get sucked into those weird, dumb little apps that serve literally no other purpose than to waste your time, whether you're wasting time with the game or wasting time watching the ads that the game is serving you. I get sucked into those, and oftentimes it's like the water sorting or merge games or whatever. But I try to only open those when I have time to waste. The emphasis is on try, because I do get sucked into them and then spend hours doing nothing but matching 3 tiles with different fruits on them. The exception to the rule of only opening them when I have time to waste is idle games. Every once in a while, I get this urge to just sit down and play an idle game and just lose hours to it. Think like Cookie Clicker or anything like that. I don't know why this is. I don't know why those games have such a chokehold on my brain. I know what it is. It's because number go up, and that's fun and nice and makes me feel productive while I'm just sitting there staring at the screen. But usually I get this urge when I'm like not doing my best, like mentally. Less so now that I'm out of college. More so while I was in college. But I feel like this is like my biggest vice, and of the vices to have, it's not a bad one. It's not terribly detrimental to me. Could be worse. Could be worse. The worst damage I can do is absolutely ruin a weekend by sitting and staring at a number go up on a screen until hours later I emerge in a haze wondering what time it is and how many hours I lost. Anyways, there are so many idle games out there, and there are so few that actually encapsulate what I ideally want out of an idle game, which is exactly that feeling of sitting and staring at a number going up and then emerging in a haze just later, not knowing what happened, just emerging from like a fugue state of number. These types of games are also called like incremental games, which I kind of prefer for the types of idle games I like. And that's because I like to feel like I have some sort of input into actually making that number go up. Makes the gameplay more interesting, and I think it makes me feel more productive in the absolutely non-productive thing I'm doing. So when I do get this urge for an idle game, I know that the best thing for me is to play one that has a definitive ending to it, which there aren't a lot of those actually. Most of them are kind of infinite games, which is kind of the point, is to make the number go up as much as you can. But there are a handful out there that do actually have definitive endings. We'll cover some of those today, and those are definitely the ones that will ruin an afternoon, and then the urge is mostly gone for me. So this is going to be an overview of a number of the idle games I have played, as well as some recommendations, things I like, things I dislike, and I lost an entire day while I was baking bread. So I was being productive. I baked bread. And if you've ever baked bread before, especially if you've baked bread with yeast, you know that there is a ton of downtime. So I use that downtime to be productive in an unproductive way and record a bunch of gameplay for all of these idle games that you will see coming up in the video. I'm real good at talking. So I've sort of split this into a number of different sections because there are a lot of idle games out there, and they're absolutely not all the same. We're gonna be starting with apps, because there's so many apps out there, and a lot of them are dumb and bad on account of there being literally millions of apps. So some of them are going to be dumb and bad. These are just a small selection of the ones that I feel are less dumb and bad, but that I still lost a little bit too much time to, in my opinion. First up are 3 games all by the same company. I have seen ads for these, and that is in fact like how I first found them. It's unfortunate, but I am not immune to advertising. So good job, company that made the games that advertised them to me and that made me download them. The gameplay is all a little different from like game to game, which is nice, but a lot of the like visuals are very similar. So the first one of these I played was called Cat Snack Bar, and I'm not gonna lie, this captured my attention for a while. Like most of these games, you don't really interact other than to like level up your stations or buildings or whatever you want to call them, the things that make money per second in whatever currency the game is using. But it's kind of fun because each time you like level up or like prestige, you move on to a new section, you get more buildings to unlock, which is kind of fun actually. The thing about beating each of these levels or like areas is when you get to the end of like a world, you do reset. So a lot of idle games have prestiges where you will get to a certain like amount of money, say, and then you'll get a fancy currency that lets you restart, and then you apply that to some sort of permanent upgrade, and then you will go back and start from the beginning with a permanent upgrade applied. This is not the case for this game specifically. In this game, you don't really have prestiges or permanent upgrades. You'll get to the end of one of these worlds, and you'll go back to the start where you only have 2 buildings again, which kind of sucks because those are the most boring parts of the game. And it only really gets interesting when you have a bunch of buildings to level up. When I was playing this game, there were also these like short-term events where you would go to a different area, and I think they actually had either the same amount or more buildings than the final like level of each world, which was really fun, but it was also impossible to beat in the time period because they didn't give you enough time. And that's even if you were spending like way too much time on the game, as I was doing because it was finals week. And like I said, I only play these games and I only get the idle game urge when I'm not doing super hot. So if I'm not able to beat the level in the time frame when I'm spending way too much time on it, you're not going to be able to beat it. Next up is Office Cat, and of these 3 idle games by this company, it's definitely the one I've spent the most time on. You still have these sort of like buildings that level up your like money per second or whatever, but the main thing that gets you money is by recruiting companies to come work in your office and leveling them up to their full level or whatever. I think that that is exactly what got me so like invested in it, is that sort of collection of there's a bunch of companies that you need to level up, and so you got to level up all the companies, and you got to fill out your book that shows you all the companies that you can level up. It's like Pokemon, but for idle games. There's also a couple of other little mini games. I've only unlocked the factory one, but it's just this other thing that also gets you money in a different way. But yeah, you're trying to get these companies to come work in your office and level them up. And it is kind of weird because the employees get mad if the amenities aren't up to their liking, which is a little weird because if you're just the landlord, why are you the one supplying the desks and the monitors and the chairs and the everything? Like, that should be on the companies who are renting the space from you to provide, and not you as the landlord. But it's an idle game, it's not real life, so I'll give it a pass. There also aren't any prestiges in this. As you level up, you can unlock like higher and higher level office buildings, but you never like reset down to 0 and keep going from beginning again. The last game I played of this was called Cat Lumberyard, and this one was just the least interesting to me. It does have like prestiges where you fully reset, but they happen too soon, if that makes sense. If you've ever played an idle game, you know that a prestige happens after you've played for a good while and you're sort of like bumping up against the edge of money being able to buy your next upgrades or next buildings or whatever. This one has prestiges that happen way too quickly, so you're not really getting your factory up to max level before you prestige, which kind of sucks. Anyways, the other app I want to talk about is called Chainsaw Juice King. This I liked a lot when I played it. It's one of those games where you actually have to like move your little player around, so you do have that like active influence in the number go up, essentially. So you're dragging around your character and you're killing fruit, so it's like vegan friendly, but you're still killing things, which is fun. So you're killing the fruit to make juice and then sell the juice to people. This one also does have the same issue as like Cat Snack Bar, if I recall, where you level up and you keep going and then you move to a different world and you reset down to just having 2 buildings again, essentially, which again sucks. I'd love to just keep having more and more stations open rather than resetting back to 0 once I get far enough. Also, in the year or so since I've last played this, it's definitely gotten worse. There were these buildings that you would unlock later that gave you employees that would automatically go out and collect fruit or move things from like the juicers to the shelves or be cashiers. And since I last played it, you can no longer upgrade and get more of those employees without using premium currency, and that wasn't the case when I played it. So that sucks. The other thing is, after I completed the tutorial stage, it felt like every 5 minutes or so, I got a random ad, which again, never happened when I was playing this the first time, and it was honestly really upsetting. Like, I know this is a free game, but it still sucked. But the worst part about all of these apps, on account of them being free, is the ads and is all of the microtransactions. Like, they're free and I get it, like they're trying to make money off of it somehow, but like sometimes the things they want you to buy are $20 and that might not even remove the ads. Like, if I'm gonna spend $20 on an idle game, I'm gonna go to Steam and spend $20 on something that I know won't serve me ads because I paid for it with money. And that's where they're getting their income, is from the money I spend to buy the game. Not on microtransactions. Like, if I'm paying $20 on an idle game, it better be the best one I've ever seen with the best graphics and best gameplay and win like hundreds of awards. I'm not paying $20 to be served ads. Yeah, anyways, those are the apps. I wanted to get those out of the way because they're definitely not my favorite, and the rest of these are notably better. Mostly notably better. Some of them are kind of on the same level, actually. So now I'm gonna start talking about what I'm calling the classics. These are the games that have been around for literal years, kind of mainstays in the genre, and the ones people probably know the best. There are a couple of apps on this list, but at least they're relatively well-known ones and not the random ones I downloaded because of an ad. We're of course gonna be starting out talking about Cookie Clicker, which really is the game that put this genre on the map. To quote from Orteal, the developer's Tumblr, "Don't care, popularized a game genre." Anyways, it's called Cookie Clicker because you click the cookie. I was gonna try and be clever there, but there's not really anything else you click other than upgrades and stuff. So you click the cookie. But anyways, you click the cookie and then you can unlock cursors to click the cookie for you. And then you can upgrade your cursors and you can buy grandmas to bake cookies for you. And then you can upgrade your grandmas, and before you know it, you have a cookie making empire. This one does have prestiges, or ascensions as they're called in this game. And you get what are called heavenly chips, that's their prestige currency, to get permanent upgrades for your next run. I've had my current save since around 2020, and my current run is, I think, over a year old at this point. Usually what I do when I play Cookie Clicker, because I am looking for sort of a multiple hour long, lose an entire day to doing absolutely nothing idle game, is I will check to see if when I ascend on my save, I can buy a couple of permanent upgrades. If I can, I'll ascend, I'll put the upgrades in, and then I will spend those hours getting my run back to where I can let it idle again for months on end without looking at it. I also don't do the mini games for this. I know that I said I prefer idle games where I have some sort of like activity, like I like to be able to poke at it and actually have some influence on the game. But the mini games just aren't what I like about an idle game. I don't find them super interesting. The only one I actually would have an interest in beating is the garden minigame, but that's mostly because there's an achievement for that one and not because I actually find it interesting. I'm not huge on trying to maximize buffs in an idle game, not my deal. I'm truly in this for the love of the game, and by the love of the game, I just mean the love of the number go up. Next is Clicker Heroes, which is one that I actually don't have much experience with, but I will give it props for being available on Cool Math Games. So if you're like a middle schooler and watching this for some reason, and you want to play an idle game, there you go. Cool Math Games, it's right there. This one's incredibly simple. I don't think there's even any mini games like some of the other games have that we're gonna be talking about. You click the monsters to do damage, and eventually you can get adventurers to do the damage for you. Much like Cookie Clicker, you start by clicking it yourself, and then you can buy something to auto-click for you. I will say that the fact that it's combat-based and there are these boss levels where you have to beat the boss in a certain amount of time do make it more interesting, make the gameplay more interesting. It makes it stand out a bit more from a traditional idle game. Also, the fact that you upgrade your damage per second and you don't get like money per second from this, you only get money from killing the monsters, makes this a little bit more interesting. You're not directly influencing your currency increase whenever you upgrade something. There is prestiging also in this one, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't know much about it because I never spent too much time on Clicker Heroes in comparison to Cookie Clicker or some of the other games. Okay, I also don't have a ton of experience with Adventure Capitalist, but somebody mentioned it on one of the Worlds Beyond Number fireside chats, and I went, oh right, that one, and so here it is. I'm gonna start by saying that of the games in this section, of the classics section, I find this one by far the most boring, which could be a hot take, but I don't care. It's boring. You have a number of different buildings which all generate money at different rates, which makes it different from other idle games. You also have to, at the start, manually make the buildings run again to generate more money, and then later you can buy managers that will make the buildings auto-run whenever they complete one of their cycles. Other than that, there's really not a lot here. I guess that's kind of the gist of an idle game though, is just buying the things to make the money automatically be made, and then the number go up faster and make more money. And I gotta give this one props for just being adventure capitalist, which kind of breaks down exactly why idle games are fun and why billionaires are like that, is because number go up and number bigger, number better. Number bigger, number better. And that's it, that's all there is. That's monkey brain like big number. I think that's all there is to it. This game also does have like prestiges and prestige currency, but they don't really unlock that much in my opinion. There's also other worlds in this one, but they're just a reskin of the same game without any carryover of currency or anything. So it's like if you had Cookie Clicker and then later on you're able to unlock Cake Clicker. And so you go to Cake Clicker, and it's the same game, but with different buildings and upgrades, but you're clicking a cake instead of a cookie. That's what the different worlds in Adventure Capitalist are. And it kind of pisses me off, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, moving on from that, I've put Eggs Inc. in this section because to me, it's a classic. I don't know if it is to anybody else, but this has been around for a while. I feel like it's fairly well known. I could be entirely wrong though. In this one, you're farming eggs. That's it. You're farming eggs. You're trying to get a bunch of chickens to make more eggs, make more money. You have upgrades for your chicken housing, your shipping, and then you can have other upgrades that will increase production or egg value as well. This game does kind of in a way have like lesser and greater prestiges. What I mean by that is you will have a prestige where at a certain point you will be able to upgrade your farm in your current run and move on to an egg that has a higher value. So this is sort of like a lesser prestige. You're not getting any prestige currency through this. You're just getting a higher value egg. The like greater prestiges reset your farm all the way back to the base level egg and then give you a prestige currency that give you permanent upgrades. Much like Cookie Clicker, I have had my current save for a while and I don't reset it, but unlike Cookie Clicker, this game has what are called contracts. These are short-term farms that require you in a group of people to produce a certain quantity of eggs before the time is up. These are nice since they allow me to spend that unreasonable amount of time sort of building something up from scratch, but without sacrificing the main farm that I have. The other thing that I really appreciate about this one is it's the only free app in this video that doesn't give me any ads at all while playing. You have options to watch videos or anything, but otherwise they just don't show up. There's no ads other than if you choose to watch them, which I think is great. Okay, this next section is only 2 games long, but I still wanted to split it up because they're a little bit older. They came out in 2011 and 2013 respectively, I think. Both of these are also super minimalist visually with a bigger emphasis on like story and gameplay, which for an idle game is definitely odd and not something you see much. Candy Box 2 is the sequel to Candy Box, but it's longer and I have more experience with it, so it's the one we're gonna be covering here. This one is extremely minimalist, especially when you first start the game up and there is only one button. It takes a while to even get like a gameplay menu and move on to the actual like meat of the game, where you have this sort of ASCII art style and that's all there is for visuals. This game also does draw from RPGs quite a bit, and eventually you will unlock a map and be able to explore the world of Candy Box. I don't know if I've ever beaten this game, but I know I've gotten decently far in it. There's a lot to do and unlock, and the writing is actually pretty decent for how basic the game is. From my recollection, there's some pretty good humor, but it is very, very simple. I do definitely recommend this game, and I want to go back and beat it at some point for sure. I've also put a dark room in this section because much like Candy Box, it's got a really minimalist art style and is one of the earlier games in this genre. The game starts in a dark room where you light a fire and then begin collecting materials to survive. You have the builder with you as a companion to start out, and you can give her materials to make traps and buildings to create a village. As your village expands and you collect more materials, you can start exploring the world. This game also has extremely simple combat, but it's a little bit different to that of Candy Box 2, where you actually are selecting when to attack and what to attack with, whereas Candy Box is you run into the enemy and then automatically attack. This one's also interesting because while it's an idle game with respects to the village, you technically don't need the village to even beat the game or start exploring. So you can play this as an idle game or just bypass the idle entirely and go explore instead. This game does also have a story and I believe a sequel, and I do recommend this one. I haven't played the sequel personally. I really like that the art is super simple. Again, it's all ASCII, and I think that the exploration is actually really good. It's a fun variation on the idle game genre, in my opinion. So we're now moving on to some of my personal favorites. I don't know how you pronounce this word. I'm gonna say Gnorp, Gnorp like gnome. I'm gonna say Gnorp like gnome. The Gnorp Apolog is the only game that I personally have spent money on. Technically, the app version of A Dark Room is paid, but my mom bought it years and years ago, so it doesn't count. Anyways, I came across this one on, I think, like Pinterest. It was some social media comment or something. But I really like that this one has just this little society of little guys. It's fantastic. Like, you're building up this little guy society. It's great. So this game revolves around the Gnorps, who find a rock and build their lives around hitting the rock and collecting materials from it, and finding new and better ways to hit the rock and collect the shards. This one actually does have a bit of resource management, which is super cool if you're into that. Your main sticking point is the number of Norps you have, since they're needed to allocate to buildings as well as to purchase new buildings sometimes, and getting more of them can get prohibitively expensive. This game also has what I've been calling lesser and greater prestiges, except in this game, both prestiges give special currency. When the pile of shards gets too big, the rock compresses and you get Zybellium, which is this weird floating thing. This allows you to purchase buildings or building upgrades. Greater prestiges give you points to allocate at the start of each run that last through the run. The interesting thing with the skill points is you unlock them based on, I think, damage per second rather than actual like number of shards collected, which I feel like in most other idle games, your prestige currency is based on the total amount of currency you have collected over the course of the run. So making it based off of damage per second is definitely a fun little variation on that. This is also, I think, the longest game that still has an endpoint. All of the games in this current section have endpoints. This one takes about 15 hours to beat. So if you're looking for a longer idle game that still has an endpoint, this is the game for you. So now we're gonna talk about universal paper clips. This has everything I want in an idle game. Clicking a button, buying upgrades to make it automatic, weird little things that directly progress the story but also don't have anything to do with clicking a button. In short, it's peak. Universal Paperclips was born from a thought experiment about an AI that's required to maximize the number of paperclips it produces. This game puts you in the driver's seat of that AI. There are a lot of moving parts to this game, especially for how minimalist it is at first. You start out making paper clips by hand, of course, and then buy auto clippers to make them for you. You also have to sell the paper clips to get money to buy upgrades, as well as buy wire to make more paper clips, and both of those have sort of market variations in price and sell point. Selling the paper clips requires you to balance that supply and demand and cost per paper clip, which is really interesting. This is all just the very beginning of the game, by the way. We haven't even gotten to the deeper part of the game where things start getting spicy. You eventually unlock upgrades as well as a second type of currency that allows you to get more upgrades, and then another type of currency even later on, and then later on a fourth type of currency. You get 4 currencies in this game. That's 4 times the currency of most other idle games. Well, some of them have prestige currencies, and this one doesn't have prestiges. It's 4 times the base currency of most other idle games. This is a game that I really don't want to explain too much of because there's so many little surprises with it that are super fun to discover as you go through the game. To me, there's sort of 3 different phases to this game, and they flow really nicely into each other. You can tell when a new phase is starting, but it doesn't feel like a big leap from one phase to the next. It feels really natural. This game takes about 3 hours to beat, which to me is basically perfect. If you do end up playing this for yourself and you have any sort of sensitivity to flashing lights, close your eyes for about 10 seconds after buying the Release the Hypnodrones upgrade. I think there's a glitch in the code somewhere because it flashes on the screen and it's really not fun to look at. The last game is Stimulation Clicker. This is a game by Neil of neil.fun, who also made Infinite Craft and the Password game, among other things. Oh hey, there's a new game on here. That wasn't there when I looked 2 days ago. Anyways, I definitely didn't get lost in that game for 5 minutes, which isn't a long time, but also definitely not long enough. Oh, hey, wait, there's a hydrogen bomb. Oh, that makes a fun pattern. Pretty colors. Anyways, there's a lot of fun stuff on that site, and it looks like that Sandboxels game links to a web collective with a bunch more stuff to get lost in, which is really fun, but we're concerned with Stimulation Clicker. I chose this as my last game of the day when I was recording the gameplay for this video, which is super clear if you've ever played the game for yourself, which I do recommend. Basically this, true to its name, is a game where you make the number go up by increasing your stimulation, because let's face it, idle games are boring, and I need to be entertained. The stimulation in this game comes in the form of a lot of different background noise type upgrades, both in the form of noise as in Subway Surfers or a true crime podcast, as well as noise as in the general noise of existence, like getting emails. Yes, you get emails in this one. Yes, it's good. It ramps up pretty quickly, but it's also only a 40-minute experience to beat the whole thing, which is pretty nice. Also, Ludwig's here, which I think is hilarious. I did save this game for last for a reason though, and I'm not gonna spoil it for those of you who want to go play it for yourself, but I beat this one and then I was free. And then I spent a few more hours going back to Universal Paperclips and beating that game again. Yeah. Worth it though. Doing all this did make me intrigued as to what other idle games were out there, specifically ones that would be paid and presumably, nicer, better gameplay, something like that. So I went on Steam and looked at their idler category and was surprised to find a lot of games that were billed as study aids or productivity aids, and it got me thinking, is Hank Green's Bean app, also known as Focus Friend, an idle game. Arguably, it's the game that best fits the title of idle game since you do literally nothing to progress. And for me, it's an idle game that's actually been incredibly useful when I use it properly. I haven't been using it as much lately, but when I was using it a lot, I was turning it on every chance I could because I wanted to get more decorations for the Beans room. I was also gonna beg them to have a way to turn off the 3 times socks thing if you were a pro membership person, because that was the one thing that was stopping me from buying lifetime pro access was the 3 times socks thing. If I'm using this app and I'm getting use out of it, I want to make it last as long as possible. I don't want to increase my currency accumulation just to get more decorations when it means that I use the app for a lesser amount of time. But it looks like they actually do have a way to turn off the 3 times socks in the pro version. So now the only reason I haven't bought it is because I'm unemployed and I don't want to spend $30 on an app, which I think is a valid reason not to buy it right now. But yeah, shout out to Hank Green's Bean app. It's super useful. I hope they keep doing upgrades. I'm really happy that there is a bedroom now, because now I get to save up 3,000 socks because I just finished the kitchen lately, and 3,000 socks is a lot. That's 3,000 minutes of not looking at my phone, which is good, but it takes a long time to collect. Anyways, that's a rundown of probably most of the idle games I've played, or at least the ones that stick in my memory. If you like that, consider subscribing, and on the off chance you crochet, check out my crochet YouTube channel or my website. Because if you think about it, fiber arts are just like idle games where you do incremental things one at a time, and eventually you actually have something in your hand, unlike an idle game. So hey, it's a productive idle game, essentially. But this video has reinvigorated that idle game urge, and there are 2 free idle games on Steam that I have been waiting to play until after I record this, and now that I've recorded this, I can go play them, and I'm gonna go do that now. Bye!